Hi, everyone. This is Trish on a water break with a quick sip. Not a long break or a gush and go, just a quick.
Hey, this isn't a full water break, it's just a quick sip. Let's go!
Joining us today is Andy Lecter. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you. Andy, whenever we have somebody new on, we like to do something that's called the 32 count life story. Because we want people to know who you are, your background, whatever. And I actually want to know because we've never met. So we'll give you 8 off the Met and you tell us everything from day one until today. Are you ready?
8 off the Met, and go.
My name's Andy. I'm 34. I was born hearing impaired, and I got my bachelor's degree in music education. I taught music for 2 years before pivoting to ABA, and now I work in the Disability Services Office at Paramount University, which is actually where I got my bachelor's. And in terms of color guard, I started after college. I marched ASUD in 2015 and in 2018. And then I started my own team with my husband that we did for 2 years, but then life took us away from the activity. So at this point, I pretty much do theater, and that's all I spend my time doing these days.
Did it. You nailed it. Okay. So let's talk about what's going on or what's not going on with the WGI Independent Open class. So, from what we know, and Andy, feel free to interject because you may have more information than us. So, Paramount's second guard was competing in Independent A class. And they were found to have at least one, as far as I know, I don't know if it was more than one, um, member who was too old to compete in the Independent A class. So WGI allowed them to self-promote to Independent Open. Is that where we're at right now? Is that the information you have?
Yeah, I have a little bit more, not much. I spoke to a veteran of Paramount about it. So it's not anyone that's currently affiliated, but
Okay.
she had a little bit of insider information, which was that I believe it was one person that was overage. And
Okay.
it was by a few days, and it was because that person has some sort of misunderstanding around the age rule, and so that member was under the impression that this was their age out, and that's sort of the information they shared with Paramount. And this is the part that I haven't verified. I don't remember where I got this tidbit, but it sounded to me like WGI had audited Paramount, and that's how they found the mistake. So it wasn't fun for the staff either. They found out and they realized what had happened, and so yeah, they were given the choice of you can kick the member out and continue in A, or you can bump into open and keep that member. So they decided do what's best for the team and everyone. That member who's been with them for months and decided to self-promote. So yeah.
Okay. So now the twist to the story now is that there are 6 guards currently on the wait list for Independent Open at World Championships. So now these guards are upset that Paramount, who I'm glad you shed light on the fact that it was kind of a misunderstanding, they were allowed to switch classes. But those 6 groups are very reluctant to talk. And we've tried reaching out to a bunch of groups, hoping that WGI, when the schedules come out this week, is going to allow those 6 guards to compete. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tricky because I did a lot of digging myself to try to understand, because like I said, I directed an independent team before, and actually our second year we were in open. We self-promoted because we wanted to keep our membership, and they were all aging out of A.
There.
Yeah. But what we discovered ourselves about a month into the process of rehearsals was one of our members was too old by about 2 months, I think. And we were early enough in the season that it wasn't going to impact everyone as much. So we actually ended up deciding to talk to the member and say, I'm so sorry. Like we
Yeah.
have to go. Because we did not have a choice of bumping into World. That would have been a whole nother beast. But I know how hard that is. And so when people are looking at this waitlist situation, another element that people, I think, maybe don't know about, or haven't seen the director side of things as much of, is the registration process. And When you register, you're given certain windows, and if you register by this window, you're in a certain sort of tier, I guess is what you could.
Uh-huh.
I'm a little bit out of it because I haven't done color guard for 3 years, but that's what I remember. And
They would have been tier 1.
yeah,
Would have been going to world championships and in the, in A class, which is regionally, they hold those off till the end. So they would have been tier 1 and those other groups as well. Independent open planning to go to world championships would have been tier 1 as well.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So what I understand of the rules is that when, like, let's say you're a Scholastic A team and you get reviewed because you perform really well at a regional and you get promoted. If you are promoted into open, you maintain that registration status of wherever you were
Right.
registered. And so that's the same sort of thing that's happening here where I certainly understand for those independent open teams that are waiting and that is so nerve-wracking and stressful, but how it must feel to see this team sort of kind of circumnavigating that wait list, but in reality, maintaining that registration status because they registered year 1. So yeah, I'm with them. I hope that WGI can find a way to make it work and take them off that wait list. That's why they exist, especially in independent. We, as independent teams, like we're there just to compete at Dayton. That's why we do all of this. So
Exactly.
I think, yeah, I had
Exactly.
registration for sure.
So, I agree. I hope that when the schedules come out, at least some of them get in. I can't imagine being a guard like Emerald right now, like from California. How do you put that all together now? If they do find out that they get in, it's gonna be crazy. Speaking of which, I mean, okay, so they did their first regional this weekend in Buford in Independent Open, and apparently, it didn't really go very well. So that's unfortunate too, that this all happened and now, who knows, it didn't seem to go very well. I mean, maybe in their eyes it was successful. Maybe, hey, we got out there, we did a regional and open, in their eyes it was successful. You know what I mean? So we have to take that for what it's worth too. Have you seen any of these groups live? Have you seen Paramount live?
I have not seen them live. I've seen some videos of the World Guard. I'll admit I haven't seen the.
I've seen the
Open Guard,
World.
but
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things that I actually have so much respect for Paramount with the way they've handled this. Like, I think in their shoes, like, again, wanting to make sure that their members get that full experience that they paid for, and that one member who had an honest misunderstanding of the rules, like being able to, and what I imagine, I'm speculating at this point, but what I would have done in their shoes, when I anticipate they did, was have a discussion with the membership of like, these are our 2 options, and
Yeah.
probably at the very least it was them talking about why they went the way that they did. But
Right.
that, like, allowing that member to stay on was the biggest factor for that self-promotion. And I think that speaks volumes to their integrity, because they're willing to put themselves in the class that they did not design for, did not prepare for. I think, not being as competitive in that class is certainly to be expected. I think that they're doing everything they can to make the best of it, and give everyone on their team like as well-rounded an experience as they can without sacrificing a specific member. So I think,
and I think that my first thought actually was there, there, here today in society, WGI, but also in society. I'm a teacher. And I know you mentioned that as well. Like, we're so concerned about, our students' mental health and, and the well-being of our students. And that was my first thought, was that they probably at WGI letting them self-promote was probably thinking, well, it's the best thing for the, not to disqualify the group, and, because it would hurt the other group members of the group, and that's not fair to them. And, we're so conscious of that now today in society that that was my first thought, that, well, they probably did it because they didn't want to, disqualify an entire team, and hurt those other students that have worked so hard as well. So that was my first thought. So,
yeah, the rules for because I checked out the rule book to check like what the actual specific sanctions, I guess, are for having a violation like this. And all it says in the rule book, it's just under Rule 1.5, that the team found in violation is disqualified from that contest, and then their scores are forfeited. And so that's exactly what happened. I actually looked at the scores for the Knoxville regional, which I think is the last regional that Paramount A was at, that I know of, and their scores are nowhere to be found. So they were disqualified from that regional, but that doesn't mean that they have to be disqualified from World Championships, especially because they're already registered for another regional, which would then qualify them. So I think, WGI sanctioned them with the prescribed consequences, and Paramount decided to promote to continue their season and make the best of that. So, it's tricky, and I think people are sensing, I guess, favoritism because it's Paramount, but the reality is, in my opinion, they wouldn't have been audited in the first place if they were showing favoritism.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That you're right about that. That's a really good point. So, I mean, I hope that everything works out in the best. We're gonna find out the schedules this week. I hope everything works. Yeah, me too. That it works out for the best for everybody, and that they do let some, if not all of those groups in. I think that would be really, really great.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna, maybe we'll touch base again after all this comes out this week, and we'll do another episode. Let's hope for the best for everybody. Angie, where can we find you on social media if people want to follow you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Andy R Lecture, and that's really the only social media that I'm active really on.
Okay. I got it. I got it. I hear you. And but before you close out of your listening app, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and all other social media platforms at autowaterbreakpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to write us a review. Well, Andy, we're getting called out from the box for taking too long, so we got to get back out on the fields. But thank you so much for joining our quick sip.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Ream. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.